Hello and welcome back to my channel, Mental Health with Melissa. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more content. I post new videos every single Sunday and Wednesday, and subscribing to my channel really helps me get more mental health information out there to our communities of color, tons of information to those that are interested in the mental health professions, and a bunch of free LCSW test prep, including LCSW test prep questions and just information overall about the DSM and other types of information that is on the LCSW test. So again, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Today we're going to be talking about LCSW test prep question that has to do with colleagues. So there may be a LCSW exam question that asks you how to deal with either an unethical colleague or a dispute with a colleague. And so today our test prep question is really going to center around that. And so let's go ahead and take a look. So as always, if you're new here, if you're not new here, you know the deal. Pause here. Read the vignette, answer the question, and then compare it to my answer and my rationale so you can kind of see where you're at in terms of test taking ability. So I'll go ahead and read it. A social worker is in a team meeting with other case managers discussing client cases. Upon discussing one client case, the social worker reports to her colleague concerns about the client. The colleague responds to the social worker in a harsh tone, "Mind your own business. I don't care what you have to say. The client is fine." None of the other team members say anything. According to the NASW Code of Ethics, sorry, I forgot to put that part here, what is the first thing the social worker should do in response to the colleague? So as we see here, before we go through the options, first is always a key component and a key term of these sorts of vignettes, because while there may be multiple correct answers in terms of things that we want to do, we have to prioritize and kind of do the process of elimination so that we can find out what it is the initial and very first step that we need to do. And so this can happen, you know, this can be a real life scenario that happens, and the NASW really wants to test our ability to, you know, handle and manage conflict, whether it be in a therapeutic setting or with a colleague or somebody that's supposed to be on our team, because sometimes this does happen and we want to make sure that we're putting our own ethical principles first, but also adhering to the code of ethics as they're stated by the NASW. So I will say that this is actually a true story. This happened to me when I was in a meeting with several other case managers, and everybody was just so surprised that this colleague responded in this manner, that nobody really knew what to do. And so I'll give you more information, but first I'm going to go ahead and read the options. Option A, inform the colleague supervisor about such an inappropriate interaction in the meeting. Okay, so if you have read the NASW Code of Ethics or the guiding principles that we talked about in one of my previous videos, then you know that this is possibly a step. However, this is not the first step that we want to take if we're thinking specifically about what the NASW states. So this may actually be a second step if things don't change. However, it's not the first step, and we're looking for the first step. Option B, elicit the other colleague's assistance in shutting down that behavior. So we may do this if the second thing that is on the list hasn't transpired. So we do go to the supervisor if things continue, and if it continues in front of other people, other staff. However, this doesn't seem like a strong enough first step because you're not even including the person that's responding in a inappropriate manner. So we really want to make sure that we can address it directly with them. So that's not going to be the answer. Option C, ask the colleague in the meeting if she is okay or if there are mental health related issues with them. So although this response now incorporates including the colleague that was inappropriate or disrespectful, it would be with other people in the meeting. And so you may not get a response, obviously, that's favorable because this is kind of in a group setting. And so we really don't want to do that as the first step, because then that person will be kind of put in the spotlight. Option D, pull the colleague aside, ask if everything is okay, and inform them that that was an inappropriate and disrespectful response that you did not appreciate. So considering the process of elimination, we were able to rule out all of these other options. So D is going to be the answer here and is what we're going to want to do first. First being the key term. Now, if this happens again and the colleague has not respected what you said and doesn't want to work in a respectful manner, then you're going to want to go to the supervisor and let the supervisor know that you have tried working it out already with the colleague. However, the colleague continues to be inappropriate. So in this situation, when this happened to me, I know this is a little bit of self-disclosure, the colleague, like I said, kind of just, I don't know what happened. It just kind of came out of nowhere, although this colleague has definitely had outbursts with other coworkers before. So I knew that it wasn't limited to what we were talking about. This person had a lot of triggers and with their own issues, and so was really taking it out in a professional setting, which was highly inappropriate, especially when we're talking about the client, because we're talking about the client. So in a way, if you're in an interdisciplinary team meeting and one is sharing concerns about the client and then one of the colleagues is shutting it down, that may be considered unethical, because this is a sort of place where we're supposed to really share our concerns. And if somebody is not willing to hear these concerns, then that's going to affect the treatment of the client, the clinical treatment of the client. So that's not okay. So in this case, I did think long and hard about this, because I did want to go to my supervisor and let her know right away. However, I knew that the supervisor would probably ask me if I had spoken to the colleague about this privately. So the meeting kind of ended after that outburst. And then so there wasn't really a lot of time to address it, although others had come to me and asked me, like, what's going on? I know that she sometimes goes off, but I'm really concerned and confused as to why. So anyway, the next day I did pull aside that colleague. She actually was declining any of my attempts to reach her through our messaging system and through phone calls. But finally, I was able to get in touch with her and ask her if everything was okay. And she pretty much denied that whatever happened in the meeting happened and said that there was nothing wrong. And I let her know that I didn't appreciate the disrespect and that she should not be talking to me like that. And if she has an issue, she can let me know privately and not in a meeting like that, because there wasn't really anything that me or any of the other team members did to receive such a response like that. So basically, she didn't admit fault to what she did. She pretended like nothing happened. And again, I let her know in the most respectful way that I did not appreciate that respect. And after that, there were no more issues. So she didn't blow up at me or anything like that. But I did end up talking to the supervisor, just because this colleague didn't admit to what she did. She was kind of in denial, and the supervisor just basically let me know if it does happen again, then let me know. So I was just going through exactly those necessary steps to ensure that I was following what the NASW Code of Ethics really adheres to. And so, like I said, after that, she no longer spoke to me in that manner. So anyway, I'm no longer at that job. So let's go ahead and take a look now at what I'm looking at specifically. So this is the NASW Code of Ethics. I copied and pasted it here under 2.01 and 2.11. So I am going to highlight some of the key things in here that had to do with what I just went over. So respect. So social workers should treat colleagues with respect and should represent accurately and fairly the qualifications, views, and obligations of colleagues. So that was not being adhered to in that vignette that I gave you. And so I want to highlight that because it is stated in the Code of Ethics that that is something that we do need to adhere to as social workers. In addition to that, social workers should avoid unwarranted negative criticisms of colleagues in communications with clients, obviously, but also with other professionals. So we were in that meeting. However, that really went against what was happening here in the Code of Ethics. So I'm not going to read all of this, but you kind of get the idea here under Cause C of 2.01. Social workers should cooperate with colleagues and other professionals. So again, clearly something that was lacking. And then here under 2.11, unethical conduct of colleagues. So social workers should take adequate measures to discourage, prevent, expose, and correct unethical conduct of colleagues. And then we see here social workers who believe a colleague has acted unethically. So in the vignette that I gave you, which is a real life experience of mine, it may be considered unethical. It may just be considered disrespectful to some. We're going to treat it as unethical because we were talking about a client case. So this should be sought for resolution by discussing first concerns with the colleague when feasible, and when such discussion is likely to be productive. So it was after the meeting, so tension was high and emotions were high, so I did it 24 hours after. And then when necessary, social workers who believe that a colleague has acted unethically should take action through appropriate channels. So then, if this was something that continued to get out of hand and this person continued to act like this or displayed any other behaviors that I thought was harmful to a client, then I would have reported that. It didn't get to that level. Social workers who defend and assist colleagues who are unjustly charged with unethical conduct. So that's not really applicable to what the vignette was. Anyway, I hope that was helpful, and if something comes up like that for you, I hope that this information will serve as a helpful kind of guide. It was a very unpleasant interaction, but it just goes to show you that there are multiple different facets of social work, and we're not just talking about the client population, we're also talking about working with other colleagues. And so I hope, again, that this was helpful. So please like and subscribe. Until next time, managing mental health matters.